down the numbers. We've got you covered based on the numbers with your incredible host, Bahiyah Shabazz, based on the numbers.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Based on the Numbers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is where we actually break down the economy, business, and culture, one statistic at a time. I am your host, aspiring Dr. Bahiyah Shabazz, and today we are unpacking a headline. It's a lot. It's a headline that hits close to home for every American household. Yes, everyone, even those who did not believe what is actually occurring is occurring, right? Now, before we begin, let's talk about the word of the day. Roll that footage so that you can hear the word of today.
Tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
Tariffs.
This is a direct
By
attack.
now, I'm pretty sure you know what the word of the day is for this episode. Tariffs, right? So this headline that's affecting every American household. Should I say every? Because we know that the one percenters are being affected as well. Maybe not in a negative way, that a lot of American households are being affected. And I mean the low as well as middle income class are being affected, but they're being affected as well. Unfortunately, in a positive way, if you know what I mean, because they are padding their pockets, right? We saw what happened with the stock market. But before we get into all the details of today's topic, what are we talking about? For those of you who may not know, tariffs will cost each household nearly $5,000 a year. How much did I say? How much are you putting on it? 5 on it. Yes, and not in a good way. So let's walk through the numbers historically, economically, and practically. Why? Because everything that we do is based on the numbers. We are not here to just speak through the what ifs or I have a feeling, although I do share with each and every one of you sometimes my feelings on things, but it is my due diligence to ensure that our conversations are based on the numbers.
$1,000 for a family, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, especially if you're even a poorer family. It's gonna, right? Think about your budget. It kind of squishes the numbers. That might be, if you're a poor family, it's about $2,100. You're already making less. So there's just so much here to process. So this Yale report not only says tariffs will make things more expensive for consumers, but the taxes on imports will also hit these lower income families hardest. Yale's nonpartisan research center, the Budget Lab, analyzed the impact on tariffs implemented this year. The report expects tariffs to cost the average family $4,900 to be exact, as prices increase an average of about 3% this year. And that's on top of typical inflation rates.
But it is my due diligence to ensure that our conversations are based on the numbers. So unlike some other people who want to say, well, I think we should make the decision because someone is the smartest person in the room. I digress. I think he's going to make sure our economy is moving forward. It's moving forward and backwards and side to side. But it depends on who you're asking, right? Some people think the economy is moving forward. We're just in a little disruptive phase, and then you have others that are just line dancing and putting the boots on the ground. I here to tell you, either way, when we are talking about tariffs and how it is affecting our household, as I said before, tariffs will cost each household nearly $5,000 a year. Depending on who you're asking, if we're losing sleep over it. Now, are most of us losing sleep or concern? I'm going to use the word concern. Yes, we are. But what I have found in our neighborhoods, our communities rather, we have what I like to coin Black optimism. You may say, by here, why does everything have to be raised? Because it is. I digress. But when we talk about Black optimism, I've had conversations with people in the past, and some of those conversations consist of, well, oh, I didn't even know we were in a recession because of A, B, and C. Oh, I didn't even know that this was going on because of D, E, and F. That's deaf. Hello. Because a lot of us in our communities, we depend on each other as well as we are able to sustain, right? So let me use my household as an example. I'm not saying that the recession has not hit our household every now and again, because again, even though people clutch their pearls on the word recession, we've had multiple recessions, right? And we've had a Great Depression as well as a Great Recession, and we've had um, a COVID recession. However, many of us have learned to navigate when we are going through our business cycles. Now, again, using our household as an example, we were raised to have gardens. So even when we were going through the pandemic, it was so quiet outside. No one was doing anything. We couldn't go anywhere. A lot of products were not on the shelves because of the disruption in the supply chain. For us, thinking about how our household is going to be hit with nearly $5,000 a year, yes, that is a significant amount. However, what we need to do is learn how to navigate through these situations. Circling back around, we love, 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 and we implement a garden. Now this year is going to be even larger than it has been. We were raised with gardens, right? At least my side of the family. My husband wasn't, but actually his mom did have a garden, but we grew up. My parents, my grandparents, great grandparents, sharecroppers, we know the history. Well, at least some of the history, right? Because let some people tell it, we were all enslaved. That's a whole nother topic that we're going to stay focused. I need to stay focused. So this year our garden is going to be a little larger than what we normally have. Why? Because I'm thinking about how the cost of food is going to be, as well as for me personally, how I treat myself as well as our family. Everything is about consumption. So we like to make sure that we are controlling what we put in and on our body. So we're thinking about how we're going to lower our expenses and if we can increase our income. Um, as you see, I'm a podcaster. Actually, I'm a business owner, to be honest. 100% business owner. But I do like to do things that are creative that's going to bring in more income. Of course, my husband, he has his 9 to 5, as I like to call it. He punches clock, but we make sure that we have conversations on how we can utilize our funds. So when I talk about Black optimism, which we are implementing right now, we are not, as a community, we're taking a step back right now. We're not thinking about, wow, how am I going to pay my bills, even though that is a topic. What decisions are being made by this administration, even though it is a topic, we're not concerning ourselves when we are overwhelmed. So we're sharing ideas with each other on how to navigate through this economic system that every household is feeling, as well as being that support to one another. And fans, hey, where them fans at? We all shaking our fans as an outlet for us, right? This is nothing new. So let's talk about, for those of you who like to argue or have a conversation and want to rely on the word tariffs and say that it is the cat's meow and we're going to all be rich because of a certain individual who said that we are. Let me explain to you the history of the United States tariffs. So tariffs, or to simplify, taxes on imported goods, right? They've been part of our economic policies since the 18th century. So we go back to 1828 and the tariff of abominations, it led to skyrocketing prices in the South. Yes, those red states, right? Sparking, what did it do? It sparked national tension and even contributing to the Civil War. Again, we can have a whole segment on the Civil War because some people want to argue and say that the president at that time, Lincoln, were so gung-ho on everyone having equality, he wanted to make sure that he freed the slaves. We definitely are going to talk about that statistics one day. But if we fast forward to 1930, we had the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. And for those of you who want to do your research, of course, again, we're all about education. We're all about making sure that you have an understanding. So the act that I'm talking about is SMOOT, second word, HAWLEY, Tariff Act. Look it up. What did it do? It aimed at protecting us, protecting our industries during the Great Depression. And it raised tariffs on over 20,000 goods, right? I know it was not no less than 20,000, but over 20,000 goods. And instead of it stimulating for growth, it deepened the depression. So it slashed global trade by more than 60%. Does this sound familiar? So we fast forward even more in modern history, we cannot forget 2018. 2018 was the first Trump administration, and it imposed tariffs on steel, aluminum, and hundreds of goods. From where? From where, everyone? China, right? So this is not our first rodeo when it comes to the Trump administration, as well as how tariffs affected our economy. But for some reason, people seem to be oblivious to what has happened in our history. What happened in 2018? Initially, it was framed as a strategy, right, to protect American jobs and industries, right, to bring these jobs back over. And these tariffs triggered a retaliatory tariffs. What did it do? It disrupted global supply chains and it raised prices on everything from washing machines to
The
soybeans.
Connecticut Business and Industry Association is also weighing in on the impact of tariffs on businesses. They say tariff policies will hike the cost of goods imported into our state by at least $3.16 billion with the B dollars, hitting our manufacturing sector the hardest.
Yeah, China continues to be one of our largest trading partners. Thankfully, here in Connecticut, some of our trading partners are in Europe, Mexico, and Canada. But you will see an impact, whether it be our products being sent to China and the retaliatory tariffs, or the thought of importing certain raw goods or certain components that are part of our supply chain here.
Let me say that again. For those of you who are all the way in the back and may not have heard me, and what it was initially aimed for, and then the result in 2018. Again, it was initially strategized to protect American jobs, bringing money back over here and our industry. And again, it triggered retaliatory tariffs and it disrupted global supply chains, raised prices on everything. Back then, we were talking about and we saw the average cost of the vehicles raised around, cost about $10,000 to $12,000 more back then because of the tariffs. Right now, economists are estimating that the cost of vehicles may increase around $10,000. Now, we're already talking about how we're going to make ends meet. But now we're talking about, okay, how are we going to purchase the necessities that we need to live every day? In addition to that, $5,000, some households can't even make use of what they currently have. Now they're talking about, wait a minute, we're going to add on another $5,000? What are we talking about? But let's pause for a second, because what I just explained to you is occurring right now in 2025. With China. But China is doing something completely different, everybody. They're saying, wait a minute, hold my teacup. I do not have time to play with the Trump administration as well as the United States. And now you're talking about tariffs on us over 100%. All right, let's show you something because now we have social media, right? It's a little different. We have TikTok now, we have other social media outlets, but let's focus on what's happening with TikTok. Am I the only one enjoying these videos from individuals in China? They're like, well, wait a minute. Before we show you who the plug is over here in China, let's go ahead and spill some tea, no pun intended. While you are over there playing thousands, not just thousands, tens of thousands for name brand, and the administration, the current administration act as though we do not contribute to anything and you do not need us. And let me just show you, right? Let's roll that footage back. Let's show you exactly how much it costs to I can't even talk right now because I'm just astonished because I'm gonna tell you why. All jokes aside, some people are just label whores. And I don't mean that in a bad way, okay? What I'm saying is if they do not have a certain label on it, they do not want it. If it's not an Hermes, if it's not Gucci, if it's not Louis Vuitton, they will shame you. The quality can be fantastic, but as soon as they ask you, oh, who created that? Who made that? What brand is that? If it's not something that they're familiar with or they don't rock with, it's that must be City Trends. Has to be Rainbow. Oh, is that Target? Because it can't, and I know it's not Walmart. Oh, maybe. So, but this is the thing. It's all about the quality because China is pulling a rug on these name brand manufacturers. They're like, listen, while you all are paying tens of thousands of dollars on these bags, these clothing items, they're actually made over here. And before your administration talk to us about all this tax, let's go ahead and show you where you can purchase and how we can deliver it directly to you. Like, come on. China is not playing, right? They're like, okay, we are the plug. Let's show you what's going on. So I'll tell you, because most people who know me know that I'm a frugal individual. And I budget for everything down to the penny. And if I do not have you included in my budget, it's a no. So even if I do have it, when I do have it, there are times when I'm like, no, I don't need that. I don't want that. Oh, my husband gets very frustrated with me sometimes because he's like, I want to buy you this. And I'm like, what do I need that for? What do I need it for? That's just something that I will want. I'm good. We have a garden in the back with fresh food. I get to come home from the office anytime I want to prepare a meal for my family. We vacation. We spend time with each other. We ask each other about our day. We're teaching our family, our son, how to live life, how to navigate financially. I mean, life is good. I do not need a status purse because everything I have looks good. It's all about the style, right? I don't need to have this purse to say, oh, I've made it, because my success is subjective. I digress. So let's talk about what's the cost today. What is the cost today? Let's talk about the numbers. Since we already spoke about the brief history of the United States tariffs, we talked about the history of it. We spoke about modern history, how briefly how the first time Trump was in office, what occurred, and we see a second time that's happening, right? If it was the NBA, he would be all good because it's like repeat, but this is not the repeat we want. So let's talk about numbers. According to, let me make sure I have this. According to the Tax Foundation and the American Action Forum, the ongoing tariff policies, both of those still are in place from were in place from 2018 to 2019 trade war, and new ones being considered. And they're expected to cost the average United States household between $1,200 to $1,600 annually in direct cost. Direct cost, everybody. But when you include downstream effects, like inflation, we know about inflation, right? It really does reduce the power of the dollar. It reduces our purchasing power, and is disrupted global markets. Some estimates, because based off the inflation, the reduced purchasing power, and the disrupted global markets, some economists estimate to push the total cost to nearly $5,000 per household. Per household. So here's how it is affected, right? Higher consumer prices, hitting costs in domestic production, and last but not least, reduced wages and employment. We are seeing all three of those right now. Now, when it comes to higher consumer prices, we were seeing a little bit of that at the time this administration began, which was one of the reasons why he was voted in. There are several. This is one of the two. We know the first one was build the wall. Let's get rid of certain people. The second one is everybody was so focused on the cost of the eggs and everything else. Listen, I'm plant-based. I do not eat eggs. I do not bake with eggs. I do not cook with eggs. So I had no idea how much eggs were until I heard everyone talking about it, and how a carton of eggs were $10 and plus. I'm like, are you kidding me? And of course, they blamed it on the bird flu. But I did a little investigation, and I noticed that, yeah, you want to use the bird flu as an excuse of increased prices for eggs. But when I was looking at other countries, they were nowhere near what we were being charged for eggs.
For lower income families, it's even worse for them, because lower income families spend a greater share of their budget on imports than higher income families do, because poor families oftentimes buy a lot of imports from China in particular. So these 145% tariffs on China are like, tailor-made to pinch working class.
So you go to the grocery store and you notice that groceries are 10% more expensive. That's, we notice that. That amazes me as an economist, economic analyst, that inflation can be 2%, but we notice an extreme increase in the cost of groceries. I digress. So again, you go to the grocery store, you notice groceries are about 10% more expensive. They may not be solely because of tariffs. That's the word of the day. But trade taxes have played a role, right? Trade taxes have played a role. A 2019 study from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, I want to say that is it, according to my notes. It is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. They found that tariffs led to a complete pass-through of costs to United States importers. So appliances prices surged about 12% after 2018 washing machine tariffs. Cars climbed due to steel and aluminum tariffs, and farmers. Let's not forget the farmers. Right now, as I'm flicking through the channels, we're hearing certain farmers saying, I did not vote for this. How am I being affected? It's quite interesting, as I am noticing individuals who voted in assuming that what is occurring would have bypassed them, just skipped over them, right? However, everything that I mentioned, they face retaliatory tariffs from China, shrinking imports and requiring government bailouts. And this particular action, which, by the way, taxpayers funded. I don't know what we as taxpayers, as consumers, as well as voters, are thinking about. Meaning, Most of us are not doing our due diligence with investigating. We are literally listening to one person talk, thinking that that person is the cat's meow and knows everything. So now we have to think about what's next, everybody. I already talked to you briefly about Black optimism. We're coming together as a community. We're doing what needs to be done. However, as global tension rises from China to the European Union, more tariffs are being proposed in the name of economic protection. You heard it here first. But the question remains, and this is the million-dollar question. You want to hear it? Are tariffs protecting American industry or taxing American families? Because again, depending on who you're speaking to, some people are just blinded by the common denominator that they have, which is hatred towards some other people, as opposed to sitting down and saying, well, wait a minute. I may not like these group of people and I may not want them in this country. And I don't even understand why, because you're an immigrant too. But the reality of it is, are the tariffs really protecting the American industry? Because someone is telling me that it's going to make every household richer. But if I pull back and I actually do my historical research and look up historical data, that did not happen during the first president administration, his first administration, right? The first time. But it's happening again. It's happening again. But people are not equipped to take their emotions out. We're lacking emotional intelligence to say, wait a minute, are tariffs protecting American industry or taxing American families? Let me tell you what the economic consensus is leaning towards the latter. It's leaning towards the latter. So when I'm looking at my notes here, the Peterson Institute for International Economics found that in 2018 and 2019, tariffs reduced the real United States income by over 57 billion with a B annually. And that doesn't count the long-term erosion of global trade relationships. Now, that was in 2018 to 2019. We're talking 2025. We are in the first 100 days of this administration. And I feel like I'm just trapped in a P. Diddy video. Take that, take that, take that, take that, take that, take that, take that. Because we are just absorbing everything that is occurring with this T word. And we're damaging our global trade relationships. There are other countries out there and say, you know what, I don't have time for this. We're no longer going to get this particular product from you anymore. We're going somewhere else, and we've decided to exclude you. My concern is one day we will look up and all that we've built as Americans have diminished, and we are navigating toward a third world country because we thought that we were the big bad wolf, right? So when we think about this, when tariffs increase, both middle class and poor families feel the impact. But get this, it's not equally. It's not equally. So here's the breakdown of how it plays out. The first thing we need to think about is proportion of income spent on essentials. I said essentials, right? Things that you really need. They're not just wants, they are essentials. When it comes to poor families spend a larger percentage of their income on basic needs like food, clothing, household goods, many of which are imported or include imported materials. We know we've turned items over, and what does it say? Made in China. Again, poor families do not have as much income, so they're spending a large percentage of their income on their basic needs. Now, middle-class families have more discretionary income. So, but it's still feel the squeeze, right? We still feel the squeeze when tariffs increase prices on consumer things like consumer electronics, appliances, and cars. So what is the result between the two when it comes to the proportion of income spent on essentials? The result is poor families feel the effects more immediately and more severely because their budget flexibility is limited. You don't have that much money to work with. You have to get what you need. So people are going out, they're not spending all their money on once. And even with the needs, we're breaking down between normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods may be something that you, even if you're a poor family, as well as middle class, normal goods would be someone who may eat steak all the time, lobster, crab legs, chicken breast. Now, because it's so tight, and we see that our households are going to be affected by up to $5,000. Now we're looking for inferior goods. I'm not talking about quality. I'm talking about things that you may not have purchased before. Rice, pasta, the noodles, the ramen noodles. You may still get chicken, but it's not going to be that breast. It may be that leg or thigh, right? You may not get fresh food all the time, but it may be canned goods. For us, we are enlarging our garden. So for me, we used to tilly up. I'm getting older. I don't have time to keep getting down there and tilly in the yard. So we have raised beds now everywhere. So we're going to purchase more raised beds so that we can go out in our backyard and pull our vegetables, right? Second thing that we need to think about of how it plays out, price increases on everyday goods. So tariffs raise the cost of imported goods, and companies often pass the cost on to the consumers. Despite what you believe, the consumers absorb the cost of imported goods. For example, so if the price of groceries or household essentials goes up 10%, a middle class household may absorb the cost, but a poor family, unfortunately, may have to make trade-offs, like buying less healthy foods or skipping meals, as I said before. So you're no longer getting those normal foods, you're getting the inferior foods. And the unfortunate part is, in a lot of our neighborhoods, we have food deserts. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our individuals are getting their foods from the convenience store as it is. Chips, honey buns, soda, candy bars. Oh my goodness. So they're replacing it with less healthy food. So can you imagine now that the increase in our households are coming about? Now we have to think about, okay, am I going to eat breakfast? Or if I still eat breakfast, instead of having pancakes, I may just have a bowl of cereal. It is not name brand cereal. It's that King vitamin. Yeah, remember back in the day, we had the King vitamins, and we had it wasn't even Life. We had so many other types of cereal that were in bags in our communities. Not everyone, but a lot of us. We had to navigate through that. And I'm talking, this is before Trump. This was in Reagan era. We all know you had the block of cheese, you had the sandwiches, list goes on and on. So what do? Reduce choices and substitutions. So when it comes to that, poor families have fewer alternatives when prices rise. What happens? They may already be buying low cost, as I said before, low cost options, and can't trade down. Can't trade down from another bag of chips. Chips, unfortunately, what used to cost 25 cents when I was younger is now $1. The bag has not gotten any bigger, but it's more air in it. Middle class families may shift to cheaper brands or delay purchases. Because they still have some room to adapt. So what's the result of this? The poor face a higher welfare loss because they lose access to essential goods, while middle class households face more of a convenience loss. Higher welfare loss, how to taking care of yourself. But that's for the poor family. The middle family, more convenience loss. More convenience loss. So when we talk about indirect impact, and that was with the jobs and wages, if tariffs trigger retaliatory tariffs, like China did in 2018, our industries that export goods like agriculture and manufacturing suffer. And that can lead to job losses or lower wages, disproportionately affecting lower income and working class families. This is what I need for each and every one of you to note. Many poor and working class families are employed in these vulnerable sectors. So many of you who are listening to me right now or either watching me, I want you to think about this. Tariffs may seem like it's an abstract policy it is used in high level negotiations. Because that's how you were pulled in, because you're like, well, wait a minute. According to the word of the day, this is the best thing that we can do. It's a high level negotiations, but they land in your shopping cart, land in your gas tank, land in your household budget. So for those of you who want to argue with everybody, don't argue with me, argue with your mama. Because your mother would tell you, because she has lived this life before, that these tariffs are no joke. You are going to feel the brunt of it. And what did I say? Nearly $5,000 per year may not be printed on your receipt, but it's embedded in every economic choice you make. So whether you are from a poor family or middle-class family, you're going to stand there when you're grocery shopping, trying to debate, what are you going to purchase? Is it going to be this chicken breast today, or is it going to be this leg and thigh? Are you going to get this name brand, or you're going to get this off brand? You've been needing a washing machine for some years. Are you going to just call somebody out to fix it again? Or you're going to go ahead and buy a brand new one? The decisions must be made because, again, every American household is being affected. That's all I got for you today's episode on Based on the Numbers, right? If you found this helpful, or maybe not, we still want you to subscribe, share, leave a review, leave a comment. And don't forget to follow on our social media. So you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can even watch and listen on YouTube. Contact us if you need to. Until next time, everybody, I am aspiring Dr. Bahiyah Shabazz. Stay smart and stay curious. More importantly, make your decisions based on the numbers.
Wanna learn about economy, financial responsibility, breaking down the numbers